Realogy drops a bomb on the National Association of Realtors, or what we call NAR. Ooh, so what's going on with this? If you're not up to date on what's happening in this situation, we're going to post the Inman article below that takes this into full detail. So all I'm doing in this episode is I'm going to explain to you what is happening in our industry right now as far as commission goes. The responsibility of who should pay it, how it should be paid, how much is fair. A lot of this is being talked about right now because there's a lot of money at stake. So we got to think about, with the industry and the market and the economy being as strong as it is, and this always happens when it's going really, really well, people go, why am I paying this? Why am I paying that? Why is this? And all of these things come up, not only when the market's well, but usually when the market is at a peak. Let's talk about what the article basically summarizes, and please read it. I'm just giving you my opinion on it for entertainment purposes. That's all I'm doing. Basically, what it comes down to is Realogy, along with several of the other large real estate companies, have been getting sued time and time again for what they call antitrust, meaning that their brokers and their brokerages are being sued for the fact that they're charging sellers a set amount of commission to also pay the buyer's side commission. So what Realogy is saying is that NAR is requiring in a lot of areas that you have to put a buyer side commission into MLS or to the websites for them to put your property out there. What's happening is people are saying, well, that's not right. We shouldn't have to pay the buyer agency or buyer side commission when I'm paying the seller to do this job. Why am I paying the buyer's agent to do their job? I've had so many conversations of this lately because agents are getting furious about the fact that, first of all, Realogy wanted to be kind of taking the lead on this and saying, hey, we're going to be the ones that are really jumping into this and going, hey, look, we're going to lead forward and go, the seller gets to decide if they want to offer a buyer side commission or not. How can we force them to do that, and should we force them to do that to actually help them get their home sold? Well, as you could imagine, all the buyer agents for life came out going, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like you're ruining the industry, you're going to destroy real estate and do all of these things. I see both sides of it. What I really am concerned about, though, is that think about the evolution of things, the progression of how things are happening. Ask yourself this question: why should the seller pay for services that another person is providing? Well, if you think about it, it comes down to a couple of things. You're saying, well, that's what happened when they found the property. I hear that one a lot. Number two thing I hear all of the time, well, that's the only way I can protect myself to get compensated. Why should I charge my buyer for something that's bringing value to the seller? That's interesting in itself. Are we bringing value to the seller, or are we bringing value to the buyer if we're a buyer agency or a buyer agent working for a particular consumer? Those are interesting pieces. Let's think about where this is going. Let's say that you're selling a $2 million house. The seller could either pay $120,000 for that house to sell, or they could pay $60,000 if they're only paying the listing side commission. What do you think they're going to do? That's what the debate is right now, and that's what the conversation is. Buyer agents are getting very upset going, well, I'm going to be screwed. No, you're not. If you're a buyer agent and you're really working with this buyer and you're providing value and you signed a buyer agency agreement, your agency agreement will help protect you and should protect you, that says, when I find you a home, either the seller will compensate me or you will compensate me this amount for me doing my job in this process. That's what this is all about. Is this going to cause a lot of issues? Sure. Are agents going to get really upset? Absolutely. Are you going to see more and more companies and agents going directly and marketing specifically to a seller to just have the seller pay just the seller commission? Of course you are. Think about that conversation. You're going to call a for sale by owner today and you go, hey, Mr. For sale by owner, you know what? I could sell your house for 3% total. What do you mean? No buy side commit? You know, what are you talking about? Yeah, no, 3%. That's it. And here's what I do for that 3%. And they explain all of their value and go through all of their explanation. That's a hard thing to compete against in the industry right now. It's going to happen right now. Think about it. For sell by owners, a lot of times don't offer a buyer side commission. If you have a buyer that wants to buy a for sale by owner house and that buyer doesn't want to provide a buyer side commission, others we're seeing across the country right now offer very little, if not nothing, for buyer side commission because there's so much demand. This all comes to supply and demand. Why do I need an offer a commission if right now I can put up a sign and there's nothing for sale and people will come in and buy my product? That's a supply and demand issue. Doesn't mean I agree with it. Doesn't mean I'm happy about it. I don't want to make anyone's life harder. I just think we need to start thinking into the future about what's going to happen and answer this question. How do I solve the seller's problems? If commission is a problem, how do I solve it? If I'm not providing enough value, how do I solve that? If I'm working with a buyer and I'm worried that people aren't going to be offering a commission, how do I solve that issue? There's going to be a lot of this movement happening because there's so much money at stake. Companies are not going to want to be sued because the antitrust, here's the gist of it, right? Sellers are getting aggravated because they're making lawsuits going, I didn't even understand that I was paying someone else to bring a buyer to my house. I thought from when I was going through this process that it was just X percentage for just what my cost was. I didn't know half of that money was going to someone else until they show up at the closing and they're shocked. Now, whose fault is that? The agent for not explaining it to them? Of course, right? It goes back to making sure that you're explaining this entire process correctly. But imagine you're a seller, you get to the closing table, you look at the closing statement or 2 days before or 5 days before or however many days before in your local area, you get that closing statement and you go, why am I paying Sally Smith? Oh, I didn't understand that. Well, if I was a case, I would have never offered that much. I thought I was paying you this amount to sell my house. I didn't know I was paying some other person that I never even met with, knew, or had any idea about. That's what this whole article is about. So read the article, let me know your thoughts, start thinking about ways to be on the front side of this. Also, make sure you're as educated as possible on this. This is why we pay fees and have certain things to different people to make sure that hopefully we're being protected at the highest levels and stay protected, that we're all not only being protected, but that we're making sure that at the end of the day, are we doing the right things that make it a win-win situation? Is it a win for the consumer and a win for the industry? We've got to be constantly thinking about those two side by side and make sure that they come together. We can't win and the consumer loses, and the consumer can't win and we lose. That's what they're trying to figure out, and there's always going to be disruptors trying to figure out an angle to change that discussion. I hope you found value in this. I hope this sheds some light on what the situation is. Leave me a comment, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't hate me for talking about it. I'm just telling you what's happening out there. I'm not telling you what I feel or what my opinion on it. I'm just saying, gotta start thinking differently. Be the most informed, be the most intelligent, and make sure that you're always thinking ahead. And as always, I wish all of you great success.